Hi guys, welcome to KSR Datavizon. We are going to talk about the full stack development and its role. So here is the agenda. Why we are looking for a full stack developer role. Who can be a full stack developer? Its market scope in India and the skills required to be a full stack developer and its corresponding roadmap. And what is the pay scale in India? So those are the topics we are going to cover in this session. So what is the scope? Why should I learn full stack development? Full stack developer is a person who can provide end-to-end solution, right? So what is an end-to-end solution? Starting from your user interface, middleware, and database interactions, right? So all three layers clubbed together is a full stack developer role. So we'll see like in depth in the upcoming slides. So IT companies are looking into these expertise who has all these skill sets in place, right? So who is a full stack developer, right? A full stack developer is an expert person who has a knowledge and understanding of both sides of development, the front end and the back end programming, right? So the developer has a wide variety of knowledge with the ability to create complete web application. So web application is composed of all three layers: front end, back end, and database. Right? So they have to understand what is the roles and responsibilities in each and every area. For example, you take a front end. It's a client-side web application creation where the user interacts with backend. Right? The front end could be anything. Front end could be Angular, React.js, Vue.js, HTML, CSS, all those things. Backend. So backend is about you are validating your business logic. So we call it as backend or server-side coding, right? Which is developed in Java. The backend developer is responsible for basic functionality of an application or a web portal. What is a database? So database is a place to store the data for your project or the application you're working on. So backend, it's a mix of multiple Java technologies, right? So we have different frameworks: Spring framework, Struts framework, JSF framework. Within that, we will cover the Spring framework and its corresponding module. And database, we have n number, right? Starting from MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server. All these are relational database management system. So we'll cover each and every topic on this full stack developer. So let us get into the next slide and see. So we talked about why should I learn full stack developer and who can be a full stack developer with these all three layers, right? And what is the key factors to choose this full stack developer role as a software professional? So the market value is in huge demand. When we talk about like if you, in the entire IT industry, it is easy to find out I am a UI developer, I am a backend developer, I am a database developer. But it is tough to get a full stack developer who can contribute for the project with all three multiple roles, right? So we are clubbing all three roles: front-end developer, middleware developer, database developer into a single role where they can own it and then they can run the show in the software industry. So we are having a high market value over there. And what about the job vacancy and the payment, right? We are talking about the payment scale and all. So it is huge, right? Because we are clubbing, instead of three developer, we are hiring a single developer. So it depends on their expertise skill in interview, right? Could be when they are evaluating the person in Angular or Spring Boot, cloud microservices, depends on their combination of skill set. They are paid huge. So we'll cover later in this slide what is their pay structure and all, depends on their expertise level. And in the market, we have very limited availability of this full stack developer because I'm looking for a combination of all three skill sets, right? Front end, back end, and middleware. So it is not easy to find a position for this particular role. So that's why it is easy to get into this particular job. And productivity, right? So we have multiple roles. I'm working as a UI developer, middleware developer, database developer. So productivity as well as you are upskilling your skill set in all three skill sets, right? So you'll have a huge demand. So that is the reason we can choose this full stack developer role, and the payment will get, the pay stub and everything, it will be easy to get while comparing an individual uh, role. Like instead of going for an Angular developer or a middleware developer or database developer, full stack developer is a combination of all three mix of roles. So it is easy to get a job from market. And we are not getting also. We are not getting a full stack developer in the market. Right? So what we are going to cover in this full stack developer. So in front end, I have split it into multiple layer, right? So front end, back end, and database. So front end we will cover in this curriculum. We'll cover Angular, so which is a user interface, and Bootstrap is for alignment, coloring, and everything. Right? Back end. So Java. Java is the backbone, right? And then we are having the covering the framework, Spring Boot. Where we are writing the business logic, and then cloud. So right now everything is into cloud, right? So we are interacting with your cloud-based system and microservices. So what is a microservice in the sense? We'll go in depth each and every area and then see, like instead of creating a big module, we are splitting those modules into small chunk. So that is called a microservice. And we will talk about the Spring Data, JPA, repository, data REST, API, Liquibase. It's about the database. And in database, we will talk about MySQL, right? And tools we'll use Maven for creating a build, and Eclipse for Java IDE, and Visual Source Code for Angular, and the Node.js for UI server. So these different skill sets, we'll look into it, how you can use it to be a full stack developer. So if you know Angular, Spring Boot, and MySQL, it means like you are a full stack developer and it will be easy to get into the market. So these are the skill sets we'll cover. So how integration will happen? So this is the high level framework, how the Angular project can interact with Spring Boot, and then Spring Boot interact with the database. So Angular, we'll go in depth and see like how a page or layout looks like, and the corresponding services which is created in Angular, which is going to interact with Spring Boot using your REST API call. So the data will be fetched from the database to Spring Boot, and Spring Boot in turn will return the data to UI through JSON format through REST API from Spring, right? And the services of Angular will fetch those information and render in the UI page. So that covers the entire framework of full stack developer, but the technology could be different, right? But here we are choosing Angular as the front end, Spring Boot as the backend, and database as MySQL. So why we are having this full stack developer? Earlier stage, if you are doing a fetch, any HTML page or something, the entire page has to be loaded again and again. So performance issue will be there. Whereas in the case of Angular, it's a single page application where that particular data is only going to refresh and then display in the front end. So that is the reason we are looking for Angular as a framework for UI, right? Partial update. It's not going to refresh the entire page. And how the interaction between front end interaction as well as integration between front end to back end is going to happen. So here, that's what we are going in depth and seeing like in the front end we are having Angular, and in Angular we have a user interface where it interacts with Spring Boot, and Spring Boot in turns interact with the database, and Spring Boot is going to return the data, do the business logic, and return the data to UI through REST API from Spring Data REST API, right? So there will be a module called HTTP client where the Angular is going to send a request from the UI to the Spring Boot, and then the Spring Boot is going to respond back to UI, and it render the data. So that is the high level way how the framework from Angular to Spring Boot integration will happen. Right. So this is a simple example I have created. Like it's a kind of small web portal where the student information can be added, viewed, how we can delete, update, right? So those kind of things, which is created in Angular front end, and the middleware integration between Angular and Spring Boot will happen, and the database interaction between Spring Boot and MySQL. How the database is getting updated from the Spring Boot REST data API, right? So that also will go through it, so that you will be a full-fledged full stack developer. So we talk about the final session. How is the pay scale for this particular full stack developer role? So if you are a fresher in any company, right, starting from 3.75 to 5.5 lakhs, you can get it, right, in any company you go. But only thing is, I mean, from the campus or something, if you, it is easy for you to get a job. But in market, we are not getting a person who understand all these three technologies, right? Front end, back end, and database. So that is tough to get in market. So it is starting from 3.75 to 5.5 for a fresher role who works in all three layers. Whereas in the case of middleware and mid-level and senior level, the salary expectation is huge right now. I mean, here also it is not depict the latest trend. So for example, here 1 to 4 years, I mean, it ranges from 5 lakhs till 9 lakhs, right? So they are looking for a salary between 5 lakhs to 9 lakhs for mid-level, like 1 to 5 years. Whereas the case of more than 5 years till 10 years, right? Here we are seeing in the graph 12 to 14 lakhs, but it is not the case right now. So the expectation is huge. Even if you are a 5 years of experience, a market, we have seen like a minimum salary expectation is starting from 15 lakhs to 45 lakhs also, depends on your expertise level, right? If you are good in Angular with the latest version could be 8 till 12, and then you know Spring Boot, Spring Cloud, microservices, right? Then you'll get a job minimum 25 lakhs if you're having 5+ years of experience. And database, we are not going to involve much in a full stack developer role, because everything will have taken care by Spring Boot and Spring Data JPA, right? So the demand is huge in market, but you have to know at least both Angular and middleware, Spring Boot, cloud microservices. That's all it is required. You don't need to be an expert. At least some kind of minimum knowledge is required to start your career. So we have designed this curriculum to cover, as we discussed in the second slide, right? So Angular, Bootstrap, Java, Spring Boot, Spring Cloud, microservices, Spring Data JPA, with the combination of Hibernate, and then Spring Data REST API, right? And the database MySQL. So if these technologies and the tools mentioned below, if you know, then it will be good to get into a market, and you'll get a good pay scale in the market, right? So let's see, we'll go in depth into it, and then if you have any other questions, we'll highlight, and then we'll be able to answer, and then we'll get into the real project implementation. That's it about it for this session. We'll see in upcoming lectures. Thanks everyone.